Hey everybody, it's Joe. I'm here with you today with a deck discussion about one of my most favorite decks, Ghostricks. In the discussion today, we're going to be talking about how the deck plays, how its matchups are, what to look out for, your key cards, how to play the deck from my perspective. If you have any opinions, do feel free to comment down below in the comment section. Give ideas, give opinions. If you need to, critique. But let's get right into the discussion today. The first and foremost for Ghostricks is how they play, and that is, for the most part, it's defense. For example, you're gonna set your first monster, and you're gonna set all monsters that you have to play if you don't have a Ghostrick on the field. So already you're playing defensive, and not a lot of people like to do that because that leaves a lot of openings. Ignore the pen. But in my opinion, I like to set up before I get anything going. So to be able to set the monsters, set maybe 2-3 back row, and pass turn and watch them have to really consider their plays, makes it a more assuring game. The next thing you need to know is that there's not as much strategy involved as there would be in, say, like a Burning Abyss deck, but there's enough strategy involved that you really have to think about some of your plays or when to activate a card. A prime example would be Ghostrick Spectre. Ghostrick Spectre. His effect allows you that whenever a Ghostrick is destroyed by either card or battle and sent to the grave, keyword sent to grave, you special him face down, draw a card. Sorry for the runny nose. Now the main thing about that is, if it's only the one monster and you want to get the draw and you want to make sure you keep field presence, that's fine. But if they've got 4 or 5 monsters and you have no hand traps like lanterns, frosts, anything like that, then using him is really almost a waste, because yeah, you're getting the draw, but you're losing monster, you're using field advantage because you no longer have him there. One card he combos well with, though, is Ghostrick Break. Hold that up there. Ta-da! Anyway. Because you can chain his effect to this card and essentially get 3 summons and a draw. So I believe that's a +2 or +3. The next thing we're talking about is the way they actually fight. When you're dueling, what they do is, they're all set. Your turn. They come into attack position, they flip face up, and then you, with the field spell of your choosing, it doesn't really matter which one, unless you're playing Parade, then you do no damage, so it's pointless. I just use Mansion because it's, anyway. You attack directly, you poke at them as much as you can, and then you retreat. You set them all face down again, and then, depending on who you attack with, say you attack with a Stein, you get a search spell or trap. A spell or trap for Ghostricks. So you search out a Scare, which on your opponent's turn, if they try and do anything, you flip and set all their monsters. And the last thing, this is a little tidbit that I do when using the Ghostrick build, is baiting out their resources, baiting out their attacks, baiting out their everything. Say you have the Spectre in hand, but you also have a Lantern and they have 2 monsters. Don't Lantern the first one, or Lantern the first one, they think you have nothing else, and then you Spectre after they attack the Lantern. You keep your field presence, you draw the card, and you have cards like Recurring Nightmare, that even if they destroy both of them, you can just get them back, because it allows you to get 2 darks with 0 defense from your grave to hand, and you essentially just keep recycling. Next thing we're talking about is matchups. Okay, so most people don't assume you're playing straight up Ghostricks, like pure Ghostricks, which is what I do. If anyone sees Ghostricks, they immediately assume Ghostrick Monarch, Ghostrick Burn, Ghostrick Mill, any kind of variant. aside from the regular ones. So catching them off guard, usually you'll probably win game 1 if you play it right. But game 2, unless you side in against the side that they're probably going to go against you, like Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, Skill Drain, I don't really know what else. Maybe a Vanity's Emptiness, if they're not already main decking it. It's times like that where you really need to know what to side deck. Like, you could side deck Trap Stun, you could side deck out, like, depending on how you play it, you could even side deck half of your build and side in a Monarch build, just to throw them off even more game 2. But game 2 is where you're going to have the grind, the struggle matches, or you might just flat out get destroyed because of how well they've side decked. And that's where, you know, side decking comes in handy, and you have to be really, really, really efficient and knowledgeable on what most side decking is, what side decking is for some decks. You know, kind of read into what your opponent does and how they play, and work on that and see what you could side in because you've played them game 1. Aside from that, it's really just knowing how to play the deck. So, with that being said, let's move on to probably one of the final things. Is reading your opponents. The one thing that makes this deck amazing is being able to tell how your opponent's going to come at you. Because if you have no idea, then you can't make your plays go off properly. But if you know the deck you're running, and you know the way it plays, which is why you would be very knowledgeable in a lot of other things, is one of the key ways to bait them into doing what you want, like attacking into a set Jiangshi to get the search, and then spectering to attack while you have a scare out, to even enter battle phase at all. That way most of the traps that they would play can activate. What else? Oh, knowing and analyzing playstyle. I know that sounds a little weird, but it does come in handy, because in most of game 1 what you're doing is, 1, annoying them with, you're playing Ghostricks, so it's obviously going to get annoying, and you're basically just figuring them out. Figure out how many back row you need to set to make them not attack the turn, or to make them attack the turn, because there is a defining line. Some people will not attack if there's 2, some people will not attack if there's 3, some people, rarely you'll set 5 back row and they won't care. They'll just be, okay, whatever, swing. It's whatever. But knowing those fine little details can mean the difference between winning and losing game 1 and game 2. Or even game 3 if you lose one of the first 2. Reading your opponents and figuring out how and when they play cards. Figure out the combos that they use most often, because most decks either recycle nowadays, or they just have enough, like they have 3 copies of everything, so they do the same combo 2 or 3 times. And knowing where that combo starts and how to stop it, or where the combo ends, and what to use, so even though they did the combo, they can't use what they summoned, or they can't use what they made. Another thing to look out for is figuring out how and when to play cards. I touched on this before, but i.e. a Lantern. There's no point in Lanterning if they attack with 3 monsters, and you Lantern on the first one, because they're just gonna kill the Lantern and attack you again. More often than not, attack with 2, or let the 2 attacks go, Lantern the third one. Another thing is when to use a Mystical Space Typhoon. That's the most, you can probably look up any kind of thing on that. It's the most commonly talked about thing, probably. When to summon, when to Xyz summon, what to Xyz summon. And getting on to that, that'll be the final point right now, is key cards of the deck. Obviously personal opinion, but key cards involve Jiangshi, because he's the searcher, he's the biggest butt, and he's what you want to start your games with. You want to set 2 or 3 in the back row, and pass turn, and you should be fine. Another key card is Spectre. He's your draw engine, he's your field presence, and he's, in its own way, a stall. Mansion or museum, I prefer mansion, it's whatever. Because without the field spell, how are you going to do any of the direct damage? And unless you're playing the specific Ghostrick card Ghoul, you can't beef up your monsters enough to get them over like a Dad or a Dante or anything like that. And Xyz monsters. So this beautiful thing called Angel of Mischief just came out in one of the last packs, and it is literally what runs your deck nowadays. Because you'll make your Alucard play, you'll pop the back row, you'll make your Doulahan play, and half an attack, and then you'll immediately make her detach the Alucard or Doulahan, get 2 searches. You get 1 search from deck with her, and then you grab a card from your grave with the Alucard Doulahan, and say you Doulahan effect, and then Xyz with her. The Doulahan effect still stays, it's regardless. So now you have a 2k monster with a 25 butt, staring down like a 1,000 point monster if they have a 2k beater. And you can do it, you can keep searching, you can keep attaching, but the main point is like she doesn't have the effect of when she gets sent to grave you get a search, but she doesn't really need it. And one of the last things is your trap lineup. You want to have enough traps to stop your opponent's plays, but you don't want to have so many traps that you can't set any MSTs, you can't activate any recurrings or Swords of Concealings. I apologize, I'm messing with a pen. The trap lineup is crucial in the fact of how many copies of what you're playing, like Scare or Vanish or anything like that, go around, night, when to set them, how you should play with them, knowing exactly how they work, when they do and don't work, and so on and so forth. Everything I've talked about this at the end of any of these discussion type videos about decks that I do, I'm going to be giving them like a competitive ranking, like 1 to 10. And Ghostricks, all in all, game 1, they're about a 5 for most decks, because I've played against Burning Abyss decks, and I've had a pretty good matchup game 1, because they can make all the plays they want, but half the time you're just going to set their monsters anyway. So game 1 they're good, but game 2 the matchup gets really hard, so it goes from a 5 to like a 4. And game 3, since you know what they've sided, and if they don't side anything else, you can side, or you can just know what they're playing and play off them better. And it goes back up to a 5, or maybe even a 6, depending on how well you're playing the deck. I do apologize, the camera's wobbly. So as far, like, all in all, the competitive rank of Ghostricks in themselves is like a 4.5, maybe. It's more of a casual deck. I play it simply for fun because it annoys people, and I love annoying people. I'll probably show a more competitive deck up some other time, but I just want to show, this is my bread and butter. This is my signature deck. I will never walk into a tournament without having this deck on hand, just as something to play between rounds, if I'm not already playing it in tourney, just to mess with people. You know, I picked this up from the day it came out, played with it, messed with it, adapted it. It is my baby now. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm the best person in the world to play them. I'm just saying I've played with them long enough to know what they can and can't do for the most part, up until this most recent ban list, because, you know, things are crazy. And these are my opinions, and this is my experiences with the deck itself, and what I've seen how it does running against everything else. Anyway, the video's running a little long anyway. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. Remember to like, comment in the comment below with suggestions, anything like that. Subscribe if you want to, or just suggest to your friends. But yes, this has been the discussion about Ghostricks, and I hope to see you guys again later. Bye!